Auckland Council is slashing budgets, and at the centre of it all, someone no stranger to any of you after torching Luxon and Adrian Orr on our channel this week. If Elon Musk is making headlines taking a chainsaw to US government spending, the former Minister of Local Government has been doing it quietly. Maurice Williamson's leading the charge in slashing hundreds of millions from Auckland Council spending. But has it made it any easier for you to accumulate property on your path to financial freedom?
Financial freedom faster. Financial freedom faster.
If you like making money rather than watching everyone else do it, hit that subscribe button and get ahead, because this is New Zealand's fastest growing real estate and investment show. Maurice Williamson has been voted into council in 2022, and in the last financial year, he's helped save Auckland Council ratepayers tens of millions. There has been $332 million in savings in the past 3 years. Elon Musk, he's a wannabe Maurice Williamson. Except there's a 6.8% rate increase. What's going on?
I still want rate increases to be capped at CPI.
Yeah.
So if CPI is running at 2%, you shouldn't be doing more than 2% because there are efficiency gains. There's still a lot to do, I promise you. It's a huge operation. When there were the legacy councils like Auckland City Council, Manukau City Council, Waitakere City Council, there were just on 10,000 full-time staff. When we put that all together, I was a minister in the government that brought it back and made it into one council, Auckland Council. We gave speeches, I certainly gave them, that we saw about a 25% reduction in that staff because of efficiency gains. Instead of having 7 human resource departments, you'd have 1. Instead of having 7 accounting departments, have 1. Well, guess what the total staff was just last year? 12,500 from 10.
Unbelievable.
So instead of going down 25%, it had gone up 25%. So you've got to do exactly the same thing that is being proposed in America and being proposed just about everywhere, and what Milei's doing in Argentina and so on. They're going in and saying, what is it you do? Does it have to be done? You know, could less people do it? Could a smaller budget still achieve these outcomes? Because they're like sort of mold. These bureaucracies just keep growing, and if someone isn't really blowtorching them, they just get so big. And during the last Labour government, if you look at the huge increase in public servants and the massive increase in extra money, now, those two are perfectly justifiable if outputs and outcomes had exploded. If you'd seen 5,000 more operations in the critical care units, if you'd seen huge volumes of increase in delivering in education, if you'd seen amazing stuff in infrastructure. But you actually saw less in every one, and huge sums of money being spent for nothing. And so that's why I'm really keen to do it at the council now. And I'm really pleased with the progress. I think we've made really good progress, but there's a long way to go.
So is it effective under Wayne Brown at the moment?
Yes, and he's been really helpful in pushing me and pushing, when I was chairman. What I like about Wayne Brown is he is so rough, and he just says, get this bloody fix stop pissing around and get out and fix the bloody thing. Now, he is rude. Some councillors can't believe how he speaks because he's but his whole heart is about getting some things done at realistic prices that the city needs, and trying to make sure we don't do a whole lot of rubbish that the city either doesn't need or it's somebody else's role and function. But he's done a really good job so far. I don't like some of the things he's done, and we have a bit of a rough and tumble relationship.
But respectful. Sometimes.
Respectful is not the word but appreciative of getting outcomes. He actually said in the Herald, and I don't know why he said it, he said he had to get seriously drunk before he could meet with Maurice Williamson. I've got the Herald clip, I can show it to you, and I don't know why he said it, and he didn't know why he said it. I said, why? He said to Shane Curry, I said, what was all that? He said, oh, well, just shooting the breeze and so on. I said, why? Am I so annoying? He said, no, you're doing a great job. I said, oh, you can have my resignation. No, I don't want your resignation. But he said he had to get the word's really important, seriously drunk. This is really significant for your audience to listen to. Everybody thinks that the Mayor of Auckland and the Prime Minister are a similar, one on a slightly smaller scale. But that's not true. You stand to be the Mayor and get elected. People vote for you. You don't ever stand to be the Prime Minister. Luxon stood to be the MP for botany. That's all he stood for. And then after the numbers are all in, they say together with them, and then we can add it up to break 61. Got it. They go to the Governor-General and say, I've got a team of 61 that we can control, confidence and supply votes in the Parliament, and therefore the government won't fall every 10 minutes like it does in every other country around the world. That's really important to understand that difference. The trouble is Wayne Brown doesn't have the benefit that Luxon's got. When Luxon wants to do something, he knows that the reason he got to be Prime Minister is he's got the votes in the Parliament. In the Council, we don't have the ability to whip votes and say to the backbench, you may not like it, but you're voting yes for this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Got it? Yeah, and you want to quit and walk, otherwise you're voting yes. And I had to vote. I had to swallow dead rats like you wouldn't believe because I didn't agree with certain things. I'll give you a good example. As Minister of Broadcasting, I took 3 papers to the Cabinet over the years trying to sell television in New Zealand. And I kept saying, with the internet coming, it's not here yet, but with the internet coming, free-to-air TV is a model that will be broken and gone, and people will get their entertainment from all sorts of sources and all sorts of products, streaming services. So, of course, it wasn't here yet, so they didn't believe me. And Bill Burt says, when that interweb thing comes, you think they'll have, because I said banking will change, education will change, retail will change, and so on. But 3 times I tried to sell it. 3 times I couldn't get the votes in the Cabinet and I had to drop it. But then I had to go out and say publicly, oh, no, I think it's good that we keep TVNZ because you're bound by collective responsibility and you can't argue against it. Whereas in the council table, we don't have any collective responsibility, and someone who voted for this last week can change their mind and this week not vote for it. So it's really hard. Brown spends half his life trying to get to 11 every day because 11 gets you the half of 20. When I got there, I could tell how disliked I was. It was really awful. You know, who do you think you are telling us? But you sort of have to bring them with you by saying, well, I want you to be able to justify what you do and how much you spend and whether it's necessary or could it be done another way or not even done at all. And we really are trying to and get the council also back to its core role and functions. We had a big debate the other day and a vote about whether we would support the Treaty Principles Bill. And I said, what's that got to do with us? What has that got to do with us? You know, people pay their rates. They've got a central government who's doing the Treaty Principles Bill, but they pay their rates to get their rubbish collected, their footpaths done, their roads to be done. There's a whole list of central things that a council should do, what I think is core role. But there's a whole plethora of stuff that is not our role and function.
Yeah.
And people think, well, it doesn't matter. And, you know, there's been people even trying to move a motion about how we abhor what's been going on in Gaza. And again, it's not our role. Yeah. Even if you are strongly in favour or strongly opposed to what's going on in Israel and Gaza, we are a local council supposed to be delivering core services.
Yeah, and that if those services can't be afforded, you know, you have to cut services or charge more.
Or find a more affordable way. No, charge more is the last... Yeah, could be that
seems to be the default.
If you go out to, yes, the default is just charge more, or the other default is just keep bringing more staff on board. Well, the big issue has been for me, now that I'm on the board of AT, is to stop some of the madness. There are projects you see from time to time where there are 5,000 cones down a street and the side streets while someone's coming in to fix a leaking tap valve or something. And you just go, just stop it. This is madness. And speed limits, the AT going and taking the Pakuranga Highway back to 50 when nobody drives at 50. They do when it's congested because you can only drive at 5. Okay, but when it's unencumbered, most people are always at 60 or 65 and so on.
And it's safe, yeah.
And of course it's safe. Now they said, there's been a couple of deaths on there, and we had a look at it. One was a young couple at 3 a.m. in the morning doing 120k and hit a concrete post. Whatever the speed limit was would have made no difference to them. So I'm sorry, we've got to get some sanity back.
A reminder, this is New Zealand's fastest growing property investor channel. If you want to make money and stay ahead of the pack, hit subscribe for the latest updates and insights. Maurice, these committees you're on, are they effective?
I just wish that we realise this is a massive operation, Auckland Council. $5 billion budget a year is our capital expenditure in our operation budget. And we can affect this city really well or wreck it. And in fact, we have probably just about as much impact on people's daily lives as does central government. But central government, it's all party politics, so you vote for a party because you know what they stand for. They've got whips in the parliament, and they know who's going to vote. I sit there watching the 20 councillors, and I have no idea whether we're going to get something across the line.
Yeah.
And some people, well-meaning councillors, say, well, I'm just worried about my community and I want to work closely with. And I said, well, you should have stood with the local board. We can go and fix the Pahutakawa tree at the end of Johnson Street because that's what some. But this is a monolith of a big operation that needs real focus and real outcomes. And I heard one of the retiring councillors the other day on the radio. She said, well, I think all you need to do to be a good Auckland councillor is to just have a good interest in the community. No. That's something you can do as a local board member or whatever and fix whether the tree's broken or the drain that leaks. To be a good councillor, you need to know how a big business runs, how to hold management and staff to account for deliverables, and to have dashboards and targets showing what progress you're making. Now, we're getting there, but it's a slow process, and Mayor Brown, I think, is very frustrated along the way with he would have loved to have got it faster. But we'll see. We're hopeful we'll get some fresh people wanting to come into the council and get some new ideas and some people who some of them have never even run a corner dairy.
Yeah.
And yet they're running a $5.5 billion operation.
And their first experience with a board meeting might be with the council.
Well, I can tell you one of the people on our council said to me, I was doing a bit of a spiel one day, and she asked through the chair, what's a KPI? Because I said, we haven't even got KPIs for this stuff.
Targets, accountability, a measure.
A key performance indicator. I always love those international comparisons. I always say, take Brisbane City, because they've got a pretty good functioning city council. How many staff have they got for population? So it's ratio. How much money do they spend on this? What's their level of spend? And you say, well, we're an outrider from that. Why? Why are we not able to at least be in the sort of ballpark for those measures, those ratios and so on? And it means that you force that thinking on. And I'm really pleased with the progress. I think we've made really good progress, but there's a long way to go.
A reminder again, if you're wanting to make money rather than watch everyone else do it, subscribe to this channel for the latest news, updates, and insights. Maurice, is Watercare broken?
No, I think Watercare is not broken. I think Watercare needs quite radical surgery internally, and we've put a new chairman in there, Jeff Hunt, who I was on the panel of. In fact, I think I chaired the panel that put him on there. I think Jeff Hunt, who used to be the chief executive of Cordia, the big telecommunications, is now really bringing that same focus about what are we here for, what are we supposed to be delivering, what are we charging per unit, what's a realistic sum for that to be, and if we're out of kilter, how do we rein that in? Bolger put me onto a thing called the Cabinet Expenditure Control Committee, and it's been really good experience for now what I'm doing at Auckland Council. We brought every government department in and almost did what Elon Musk is trying to do in a more high-profile sort of public manner. We just say, spreadsheet, empty. Now we drag every item one at a time on in order of your priority, and as you bring every item on, we want to know what would happen if you only spent half that much. What would happen if we didn't spend that at all? What would happen if we put it out to the private sector and got bids because it could be a lot cheaper? And we found that chief executives on $500,000, $600,000 and $700,000 salaries did not know their own corporate budget because it was just too big for them and they'd not got a hold of it. And we found them giving answers like, that's for, they couldn't say.
Yeah.
And we kept saying, so how many staff? Why do you need that many? Couldn't you do it with this many? You used to do it. And we just literally gutted the place for expenditure. We ripped numbers out of things. We found ridiculous spending. My funniest one was in the health portfolio, where we found there was a pajama manufacturing plant in Porirua that they'd set up during the Second World War. We still owned it. It was still making pajamas at about 20 times the cost you could buy them from either Taiwan or South Korea. But we had to make the change. Now, the last bit I'll finish with is where we were polling. When we first brought it in and did all that hard stuff, we fell in the polls to the point we were unelectable. And Ruth Richardson kept saying to us, we've got 2 years for the benefits of this to flow back into the economy and people realize it was, and you wait. And by the time of the 93 election, the next election, we actually got across the line but we got back into government.
Well, Maurice, I'm very happy you guys decided to stay, and you've definitely got my encouragement and blessing and support with all the changes
I can't
you're
wait
bringing
to take
about.
That's my first thing in council to get in.
It looks like Auckland Council is on this trajectory of making good improvements, and hopefully other places around the country can see that.
A lecturer of mine at university had the best statement ever, and it rings in my ears daily. He was a strategic planning lecturer, and he said, when you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And you go, yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, okay, I got it. No, you haven't. It's so fundamental to how businesses need to be run. It's a pleasure to be with you.
More cash, passive income coming fast. Make your money work for you. Live the dream, it's overdue. So don't just wait, take control. Mortgage HQ will make you bold. Financial freedom's in your hands.